Isang magandang araw sa inyong lahat and welcome to our new video presentation kung saan pag-uusapan naman natin ang tungkol sa international trade at sa foreign direct investment. But this is just the part 1 of the discussion and all about the foreign direct investment will be discussed on our part 2. Now, it is easy to think that international trade is just making business transactions between one countries to another. However, sabi nga natin last time na ang global trade is much more. And uulitin ko, talagang malawak ang international trade. And in this video, we will learn or the learners can be able to learn different concepts that are relevant to understand international trade and foreign direct investment. In this chapter, we will look at the evolution of the international trade theory to our modern time. We will explore as well the political and legal factors impacting international trade. But before that, ano-ano nga ba ang ine-expect nating matutunan for this discussion? After the end of this presentation, you will be able to compare and contrast different trade theories, determine which international trade theory is most relevant today and how it continues to evolve, understand government-business trade relations and how political and legal factors impact international business, and of course, you will be able to explain why and how governments encourage foreign direct investment in their countries. The following are the course outline of this video presentation. So part of what we will present on this video are the following. We will discuss about international trade theories, political and legal factors that impact international trade, and of course, on the second part of our video presentation, we will discuss all about the foreign direct investment. All of these major topics will be discussed on this video presentation, but before that, gusto ko muna ipakilala sa inyo si Kiko. Okay, siya po si Kiko at sa katunayan, Kiko really loves Filipino food at lagi niyang pinapatronize ang mga produktong gawa dito sa Pilipinas. And one day, pumunta si Kiko sa mall para kumain sa paborito niyang restaurant, ngunit nabigla siya sa kanyang mga nakikita. Okay, more Filipinos are patronizing the foreign restaurant than the Filipino restaurant. So, napailing lang si Kiko at napaisip ng malalim. Now, if you are in the character of Kiko, how do you perceive the situation? Sige nga, paki-comment naman sa comment section ng video na to kung ano ang magiging perception mo kung ikaw ang nasa sitwasyon ni Kiko. Moving forward, let us discuss the international trade using the presented situation of Kiko. So, international trade allows countries to expand their markets and access goods and services that otherwise may not have been available domestically. As a result of international trade, the market is more competitive. Dahil nga si Kiko ay Filipino food lover at mahilig kumain sa Filipino restaurant, napapansin niya ngayon sa market ay talagang napaka-competitive na to the point na madami ng goods and services na galing sa iba't ibang bansa ang makikita mo sa Philippine market. This is actually one of the common impacts of international trade. Sabi nga natin, international trade is the country-to-country business transactions, and it describes as the purchasing and selling of goods, commodities, and services of a country outside of its own borders. So to better understand about this concept, let us discuss the different international trade theories. When we are talking about international trade theories, these are simply different theories to explain international trade. And when we say trade, it is the concept of exchanging goods and services between two people or entities. And then international trade is the concept of this exchange between people or entities in two different countries. So ano-ano nga ba ang mga theories na kabilang sa international trades? These theories are categorized by two, the classical country theories and the other one is the modern firm-based theory. Under the classical country-based theory, we have mercantilism, absolute advantage, comparative advantage, and the Heckscher all-in theory. On the other hand is the modern firm-based theory. And under this, we have country similarities, product life cycle, global strategic rivalry, and Porter's national competitive advantage. Kung mapapansin mo, may mga naka-highlight na red, Ito kasi yung mga theories na na-discuss ko na sa ating last video presentation. Now, let us discuss the different theories one by one. Unahin na nating i-discuss ang mercantilism. It is a systematic body of thought focused on international trade. This school of thought argued that there should always be a favorable balance in trade. Another definition of this theory is that it is an economic theory that advocates government regulations on international trade to generate wealth and strengthen national power. So in this theory, yung merchant at yung government ay nagtutulungan to reduce the trade deficit at para mapataas naman yung surplus. When we say trade deficit, it is the amount by which the cost of a country's imports exceeds its exports. So, mas mataas yung gastos ng bansa in terms of importing rather than exporting. So, in this present day, significant pa nga ba na aralin natin itong theories na to na nabuo pa noong unang panahon? Actually, mercantilism laid the foundation for today's nationalism and protectionism. Nations felt they lost power as a result of globalism o yung globalization and the other interdependence of free trade. Mapapansin nga natin, di ba, na sobrang mix na ang iba't ibang products ng different countries na nasa market natin. This is one of the impacts of free trade. So malaking bagay ang ginagampanan ng mercantilism para maproteksyonan pa din ang economic situation ng isang bansa through favorable balance sa pakikipagkalakalan sa iba't ibang bansa. Always remember that mercantilism is a doctrine arguing that a nation could increase power by encouraging exports and discouraging imports. Another classical country-based theory is the Heckscher-Ohlin theory, and it describes as the interaction of relative abundance of factors and relative intensity of their use in different production processes. This theory assumes that there are only two factors of production. Ito nga yung land at saka yung labor, and that is fixed in every country, varying only across national borders. In the Heckscher-Ohlin theory, it is not the absolute amount of capital that is important, rather, it is the amount of capital per worker. The model emphasizes the export of goods requiring factors of production that a country has in abundance. It also emphasizes the import of goods that in a nation cannot produce as efficiently, and it takes the position that countries should ideally export materials and resources of which they have an excess while proportionately importing those resources they need. So to better understand that, let's say dati ang Philippines as an agricultural country is one of the great suppliers of rice. Then the question is, bakit nga ba tayo nag-export ng bigas noon? And this is due to the reason na ito kasi yung isa sa mga produkto na alam natin na abundant tayo. At yung bansa natin ay nag-i-import naman ng mga produkto o materyales na alam naman natin kailangan lang ng bansa natin. So in layman's term, the Heckscher-Ohlin model explains mathematically how a country should operate and trade when resources are imbalanced throughout the world. It pinpoints a preferred balance between two countries, each with its resources. Let us now move forward to discuss the different theories na kabilang naman sa modern firm-based theory. So this theory proposed that consumers in countries that are in the same or similar stage of development would have similar preferences. In this firm-based theory, Lindler suggested that companies first produce for domestic consumption. So this theory is called country similarity theory. This theory is easy to understand kasi nga kaya siya pinangalanan na country similarity theory ay dahil tinutukoy nito yung mga bansa na may same culture or political or even economic interest, and pwede ding similar sila sa technological capability. So here are some of the activities na ginagawa ng mga bansa that best illustrates this theory. Pwedeng developed countries trade more with developed countries. So may mga bansa, lalo na yung mga developed countries, nakikipag-trade lang sila sa mga well-developed countries din. The reason behind this is that the needs of the well-developed countries might be common sa needs ng mga bansang may the same level of their development. Another example of activities is that pwede din naman na ang mga bansa that have same cultural setting, sila-sila lang din yung mismong nagne-negotiate sa isa't isa. So this is the concept of country similarity theory. Moving forward, global strategic rivalry theory is focused on multinational corporations and their effort to gain a competitive advantage against other global firms in the industry. It explores the notion that in order to stay viable, by the way, when we say viable, it means trading is feasible. So firms should exploit their competitive advantage globally and try to keep it sustainable. According to this view, firms struggle to develop some sustainable competitive advantage which they can then exploit to dominate the global marketplace. The question is, paano nga ba ginagawa ng mga companies na magkaroon sila ng competitive advantage over competitors na nasa same industry? So firms competing in the global marketplace have numerous ways of obtaining a sustainable competitive advantage. There are many ways in which a firm can hold a competitive advantage. This includes pwedeng owning intellectual property rights, investing in research and development, achieving economies of scale or yung pinapalawak nila yung scope ng kanilang operations, pwede ring forging strategic alliance and mergers and acquisitions. By the way, all business jargons that I have mentioned will be discussed habang inaaral natin itong international business. Speaking of competitive advantage na pinag-uusapan natin kanina, international business are using these determinants for them to identify their competitive advantage over their competitors. This is the Porter's 4 determinants of competitive advantage or tinatawag din na Porter's diamond. Through this model, we can easily analyze kung bakit nga ba may mga companies that much more competitive than other companies. It suggests that the national home base of an organization plays an important role sa pag-achieve ng goals ng isang organization. This home base provides basic factors which support or hinder organization from building advantages in global competition. So ano-ano nga ba yung mga factors na yan? So we have firm strategy, structure and rivalry, factor conditions, related and supporting industries, and of course we have demand conditions. Unahin nating pag-usapan yung firm strategy, structure, and rivalry. So cultural aspects play an important role in different nations. Factors like management structures, working morale, or interactions between companies are shaped differently. This will provide advantages and disadvantages for particular industries. Kung ang isang organization ay walang magandang kulturang nag-e-exist, may lack of support system, or hindi maayos na business policies, it can lead to a negative result once they started operating in the international level. The point here is that para magkaroon ng competitive advantage ang isang firm, the internal aspects of the business should be well managed. Factor condition is the another one wherein the factors can be grouped into human resources. Ito yung qualification level, cost of labor, commitment, and others. So material resources, ito naman yung mga natural resources, space, and others. Yan, knowledge resources, capital resources, and infrastructure. They also include factors like quality of research and the regulation of labor markets or liquidity of national stock markets. Itong mga nabanggit na factors na to ay ang mga factors na kinakailangang isaalang-alang ng company for them to get competitive advantage. The third one is the related and supporting industries. One internationally successful industry may lead to advantages in other related or supporting industries. This determinant is actually focused on the identified suppliers of the firm. We all know that suppliers are one of the reasons kung bakit nagiging competitive ang isang negosyo. So no good company-supplier relationship means no competitive advantage. And the last one is the demand condition. So ano naman ang ibig sabihin nito? It actually influence the shaping of particular factor conditions. They have impact on the pace and direction of innovation and product development. Siyempre, kinakailangang i-identify ng company what products should be produced and how many products will be manufactured based doon sa kanilang demand. According to Porter, some demand is determined by three major characteristics. Their mixture, so ito yung customers or mix ng customers' needs and wants, their scope and growth rate, and the mechanisms that transmit domestic preferences to a foreign markets. These are the four determinants of competitive advantages. Let us now move on the discussion of political and legal factors affecting international trade. So ano-ano nga ba itong mga political and legal factors na to? Let us first discuss those political factors affecting international trade. The study of political system is extensive and complex, and when we say political system, it is basically the system of politics and government in a country. It governs a complete set of rules, regulations, institutions, and attitudes. A main differentiator of political systems is each system's philosophy on the right of the individual and the group, as well as the role of government. Each political system's philosophy impacts the policies that govern the local economy and the business environment. We are aware naman that different countries have different political system at isa ito sa talaga naman na may malaking kaganapan sa pagninegosyo in an international market. Let us see and discover these different political systems. So here are some of the different political systems na mayroon tayo sa buong mundo. So we have anarchism, totalitarianism, pluralism, democracy, capitalism, and planned economy. Let us first discuss anarchism. It is a political system in which opposes that individuals should control political activities and public government is both unnecessary and unwanted. So based on the given definition, mapapansin natin na ang power to control ay wala sa government kundi nasa kamay ng mga tao. And if you will think this kind of political system, talagang magulo ito dahil walang ngipin ang mga batas sa ganitong klase ng political system. The good thing is that this type of political system doesn't exist sa kasalukuyang panahon pero naranasan ito ng ibang mga bansa based on our world history. Ilan nga sa mga bansa na naka-experience ng ganitong klase ng sistema ay ang Ukraine, Albania, Spain, England, and France noong ancient regime pa. Okay, the second one is the totalitarianism. It contends that every aspect of an individual's life should be controlled and dictated by a strong central government. Ito naman ay kabaligtaran ng anarchism dahil ang lahat naman ng control at power ay nasa gobyerno. Pluralism naman is a political system which asserts that both public and private groups are important in a well-functioning political system. Although most countries are pluralistic politically, they may learn more to one extreme than the other. Democracy is the most common form of government around the world today. Democratic government derive their power from their people of the country. So either by direct referendum, okay, or yung direct democracy, or by means of elected representatives of the people. So ito yung pinapractice natin. So dito sa Pilipinas, nagkakaroon tayo ng election. Sa kasalukuyan, itong klase ng political system na to ang tinatamasa natin at ito din ang sistema na nakakaapekto sa ating pakikipagnegosasyon sa iba't ibang bansa. Okay, next one is capitalism. It is also called the free market economy or free enterprise economy. In the broadest sense, capitalism is an economic system in which the means of production are owned and controlled privately. The next one is the planned economy. It is one in which the government or state directs and control the economy, including the means and decision-making for production. So, ang mga ang mapapansin natin sa mga binigay nating political system. So ano nga bang meron sa kanila? So we can see that both human resources and the government have the huge impact on the international trading. Ang isang successful na global business ay maaaring maapektuhan ng isang sistema na nag-i-exist sa isang bansa. That's why when we entering into international market, we really need to study the kind of political system ng isang bansa kung saan tayo magma-market ng ating mga product at magpo-provide ng ating mga serbisyo. Sabi nga natin, paano natin gagawin na mapag-aralan or ma-assess ang political systems ng ibang bansa. So these are the important questions to assess possible risk when entering into international market. Number one is how stable is the government? Is it a democracy or a dictatorship? Another question is if a new party comes into power, will the rules of business change dramatically? Okay, is the power concentrated in the hands of a few or it is clearly outlined in the Constitution or similar national legal document? How involved is the government in the private sector? Is there a well-established legal environment both to enforce policies and rules as well as to challenge them? And of course, how transparent is the government's political, legal, and economic decision-making process. So bakit natin gustong alamin itong mga ganitong klase ng katanungan or bakit gusto natin itong sagutin kapag i-assess natin yung possible risk? This is because yung pag-enter natin sa international market ay hindi naman talaga biro and we really need to capture market in international level. That's why para hindi masayang yung capital, yung effort, yung time ng mga negosyo, kinakailangan nating i-assess yung ating yung mga bagay na posibleng makaapekto sa ating success or pwedeng makahinder sa pag-grow ng ating organization. So for the next video presentation, we will discuss naman yung iba't ibang legal system na nakakaapekto rin sa international business, and of course, we will also discuss all about the foreign direct investment. So please comment below your major takeaway about this video. Thank you and God bless everyone.